No one warns you about this, but the end of your awakening can feel like losing everything. It's not the mountaintop where you sit in eternal bliss, surrounded by signs from the universe and feeling the pulse of divine energy in everything. No, it's the part where the storm subsides, and suddenly everything falls silent. The signs fade, the synchronicities stop, the breakthroughs slow down. You look around and wonder if something has gone wrong. But everything is fine. You have simply entered the part that no one talks about. Not the awakening, but what follows it. The part where life doesn't hand you meaning every day. The part where you stop searching and start being. Where the highs disappear and something deeper, quieter, and more powerful begins to take shape. If you are here, you have not gone backward. You have moved forward. And in this text, we will uncover the strange things that happen after your spiritual awakening ends. No one prepares you for the silence. After all the signs, all the synchronicities, all the late-night downloads and cosmic winks, you expect the magic to continue. But instead, you are met with silence, stillness, an empty space where your spiritual high used to be. One day you wake up and realize the universe has stopped whispering in your ear. You're no longer getting the number signs. The dreams seem flat. The energy that once moved you like a current now feels still, almost empty. It's disorienting. You start asking, did I lose it? Am I disconnected? Did I fall back asleep? But what you are actually experiencing is not disconnection. It's integration. The absence of signs is not a punishment. It's a sign of trust. You have reached a place on your journey where you no longer need the universe to shout in your direction. You have heard the call. You have followed the thread. And now your spirit is learning to stand on its own. The silence that feels like emptiness is actually a new frequency, one that doesn't need constant affirmation or guidance. You are no longer in the energy of awakening. You are in the energy of being. But here's the catch. Because we have been conditioned to associate growth with movement and drama, stillness feels like failure. We have been taught that if we are not evolving outwardly, we are not evolving at all. That's why this stage feels so strange, because it doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with subtle shifts. It comes with long pauses. It comes with the space to finally breathe after what felt like a lifetime of searching. And this stillness, it is not empty. It is fertile. It's where true embodiment begins. It's where you stop reacting to spiritual experiences and start absorbing them into the very bones of your life. But this transition can feel cold at first, as if something is missing. You are not broken. You are simply stepping into a new form of wholeness. This is where most people get stuck. They think the silence means they've lost their connection. They try to get back to the magic, chase the feeling again, force the signs. But you are not meant to go back. You are meant to move forward into a new kind of relationship with the divine. One that doesn't rely on constant reminders of its reality. You have already seen enough. You have already felt enough. Now, the test is simple. Can you hold this knowing in the silence? Once you pass through the chaos of awakening, the silence becomes the place where your power begins to settle. You don't need signs to prove you're connected. You start to feel it in how little you are shaken by things, how grounded you have become, how your inner world no longer reacts to every external shift. Calmness becomes your confirmation. But at first, it feels foreign. It feels as though something has died. And in a way, something has the need for proof. You are not here to be endlessly guided. You are here to embody what you already know. And once you stop looking for confirmation outside yourself, you begin to see something deeper. The peace you once chased in visions, meditations, or messages has always been trying to live inside you. Now, without the noise, it finally can. One of the strangest things that happens after your spiritual awakening ends is that your body starts speaking a new language. And at first, it most often makes no sense. You might wake up one day feeling as if you haven't slept at all, even after a full 8 hours. The next day, you're overflowing with energy, as if something inside you is vibrating faster than before. Your hunger changes, your food cravings shift. You might suddenly feel repelled by foods you once loved, or find yourself drawn to simpler, cleaner meals. But it's not just your diet. It's your entire physical system recalibrating to match your new energetic state. You see, your spirit may have leaped forward during your awakening, but your body lags behind. It doesn't evolve at the speed of insight. It evolves at the speed of integration. Every breakthrough you had, every release, every moment of expanded awareness during your awakening, it all left a mark on your energetic body. And now the physical body has to catch up. This isn't something mystical or metaphorical. It's biological. It's nervous system rewiring. It's hormonal regulation. It's your muscles learning to unclench after years of spiritual tension you didn't even know you were holding. What makes this phase so confusing is that it's rarely linear. One day you feel stronger, clearer, more alive than ever. The next, your limbs are heavy, your brain is foggy, and you can't explain why you feel emotionally raw for no apparent reason. You might start noticing subtle physical changes. Your posture improves, your breath deepens, your face looks softer or more at ease. But then old aches and pains suddenly resurface. Back pain, digestive issues, random flare-ups. It can feel like your body is glitching, but it's not breaking down. It's purging. It's shaking off the remnants of who you used to be. Your body has been the container for every belief system you've ever absorbed, every emotional trauma you've ever buried, every habit you've ever unconsciously repeated. And when your awakening ends, those unconscious patterns no longer fit, so your body begins the difficult work of releasing them. This release doesn't always feel like healing. It often feels like discomfort, like fatigue that won't go away, like sleep that isn't restful, like moments of anxiety without a clear cause. But this is not dysfunction, this is a detox. You're not falling apart, you're being rebuilt from the inside out. And because so much of awakening is energetic, it's easy to ignore the body in favor of the mind and spirit. But this stage demands the opposite. You must listen to your body as if it were sacred, because now it is. It's no longer just a vessel for experience. It's becoming a reflection of your frequency. This means rest isn't laziness, it's alignment. Nourishment isn't indulgence, it's integration. Stillness isn't avoidance, it's recalibration. You might find yourself drawn to grounding practices, walking barefoot on the earth, eating warm, whole foods, stretching in ways that open your body without force. You're no longer trying to escape. You're learning to be here, fully here, present in the skin you're in. And, perhaps for the first time, your body isn't something you're trying to transcend. It's something you're finally learning to love. This isn't about perfection or becoming some version of a spiritual ideal. It's about honesty, about tuning into what your body is trying to say, instead of overriding it. Maybe the fatigue is asking you to pause. Maybe the cravings are clues about emotional needs. Maybe the sudden bursts of energy are invitations to create. When you stop fighting the symptoms and start listening to the signals, everything begins to make sense. Not instantly, but eventually. And when it does, you realize the body isn't holding you back. It's bringing you home. Just when you think you've made it through, when the storms have settled and the world has quieted, something unexpected happens. Emotions you thought you had already healed begin to creep back in. But this time, they don't explode. They simmer. They move quietly beneath the surface. A wave of sadness hits you out of nowhere. Old anger flares up without warning. You find yourself reliving a memory you were sure had already been processed and released. And for a moment you question everything. You wonder, did I really awaken? Did I actually heal anything at all? But here's the truth. This isn't regression. It's refinement. After your awakening ends, the healing goes deeper than it ever did before. It's not loud or dramatic. It's not the tearful, soul-shaking purging you experienced during your most intense spiritual breakthroughs. It's quieter, slower, and somehow more honest. The emotions returning now aren't coming back to punish you. They're surfacing because you are finally strong enough to hold them without being consumed by them. When you were in the middle of your awakening, everything was moving so fast. It was overwhelming, expansive, chaotic. You were shedding layers of belief, identity, and emotional conditioning all at once. But now, in this strange afterglow of awakening, you are being invited into a different kind of work. The kind that is rooted in embodiment, not escape. These resurfacing emotions are not new wounds. They are old echoes. And you are not the same person who first felt them. Now you meet them with a deeper awareness, a calmer nervous system, a steadier heart. This stage often brings up grief, not just for what was lost, but for what was never truly felt. The grief of not being seen as a child, the pain of betrayals you minimized, the loneliness you buried beneath achievements or distractions. These fragments rise now not because they were forgotten, but because you finally slowed down enough to notice them, and your spirit knows it's time. Not to purge, but to process. Not to fix, but to feel. And yes, it can be confusing because you thought awakening would mean transcendence, right? Rising above all this mess. But real spiritual maturity isn't about rising above your emotions. It's about learning to sit with them fully, to honor them without letting them define you. This stage is an initiation into emotional depth. You're not here to escape pain. You're here to meet it with open eyes and a grounded heart. Sometimes the pain that resurfaces will feel completely disconnected from your current life. You'll cry without knowing why. You'll feel triggered without a clear cause. That's because the body is releasing old, stored emotional energy that never had the space to be witnessed. And now that you're no longer frantically chasing spiritual highs, there is finally room for those energies to rise to the surface and leave slowly, gently, permanently. The beauty of this phase is subtle. You begin to notice how you respond differently. You don't spiral like you used to. You don't run away from discomfort or try to numb it. You watch, you feel, you allow. That is emotional mastery, not control, but presence. You start to trust that no emotion will destroy you. You learn to hold space for your own complexity, and in doing so, you realize you've stepped into a new kind of power. The power to sit with your own shadows without fearing them. So, if you're feeling things you thought you'd buried, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're being asked to feel more deeply, to live more fully, to inhabit your humanity as much as your divinity. Because awakening was never about escaping this world. It was about returning to it, more conscious, more present, and more whole than you've ever been. One of the strangest and most painful parts of what comes after a spiritual awakening is the quiet collapse of the life you once knew. Not in a dramatic way, not in fire and ash, but in distance, silence, and shifts that feel almost invisible until they become undeniable. The people who once felt like home now feel foreign. Conversations that used to flow now fall flat. You find yourself pulling away, or worse, watching others drift from you for no clear reason. And it hurts because no one told you that awakening would come with grief. Not just grief for what you let go of spiritually, but grief for the parts of yourself you can no longer return to. The truth is, awakening doesn't just change how you see the world. It changes how the world interacts with you. When your energy shifts, so does your resonance. And that means people who were once aligned with your frequency may suddenly feel like echoes of a life that no longer fits. You try to hold on out of love, out of loyalty, out of fear. But something in you knows that forcing these connections now would be the same as forcing yourself to shrink again. And it's not just about others. You'll feel like you're losing yourself, too. The version of you that could laugh along with things that no longer feel right. The version of you who stayed quiet to keep the peace. The version who chased belonging in rooms where you were never really seen. That person begins to dissolve. And while that's growth, it's also a death. A soft, silent death of who you thought you had to be. This phase is raw, lonely, and disorienting. You'll start to notice the shift in subtle ways. A discomfort at old gatherings, a heaviness in familiar places, a sense of being on the outside of your own life. And the instinct is to question yourself, to assume something's wrong. But the truth is, you're not breaking down, you're breaking through. What feels like isolation is actually alignment. The universe is clearing space, not punishing you. The relationships that no longer match your vibration will either fall away or transform, but they cannot remain unchanged. It's easy to romanticize awakening as an elevation, a becoming, a light. And it is, but only after the unraveling, only after the letting go. You don't get to keep your old life and step into your new self at the same time. Something has to be surrendered. And most often, it's the comfort of the familiar, the emotional safety net of people who knew you before you changed. Sometimes they'll try to pull you back, not out of cruelty, but out of fear. Your growth challenges their comfort. Your transformation reminds them of their own stagnation. And that's when you face a choice. Shrink yourself to fit back into their world, or honor your path and keep walking, even if it's alone for a while. Because you will feel alone. You'll doubt your decisions. You'll question whether this journey is worth the cost. But what you're feeling isn't abandonment. It's the natural vacuum that happens when you clear space for alignment. That space will be filled. New people will arrive. People who see you without needing an explanation, who understand your silence, who meet you on a soul level. But they can't find you if you keep hiding in places that no longer reflect who you are. Letting go doesn't always look like slamming doors. Sometimes it's just allowing the distance to grow without chasing after it. Sometimes it's choosing peace over approval. Sometimes it's realizing that losing someone doesn't mean losing love. It just means releasing the version of love that no longer serves your spirit. This phase isn't easy, but it's necessary because you're not here to carry the weight of who you used to be. You're here to become who you were always meant to be, even if that means walking alone until your new tribe arrives. It happens so subtly you almost don't notice it at first. The numbers stop showing up. The dreams become quiet. The songs that used to hit you like messages now just feel like songs. And suddenly the universe, which once seemed to be in constant dialogue with you, goes completely silent. No signs, no signals, no cosmic nudges guiding your every move. It feels like someone turned off the magic, and you're left wondering if you did something wrong. Did you miss a step? Did you fall out of alignment? Is this spiritual punishment in disguise? But what if the silence isn't a punishment? What if it's a graduation? During the early stages of awakening, signs and synchronicities come thick and fast. The universe speaks loudly because you need it to. You're still learning to trust, still remembering your own inner compass. The signs are like breadcrumbs leading you back to yourself. But once you've remembered, truly remembered, something changes. The training wheels come off, the external guidance quiets down, and the universe no longer needs to shout to get your attention. You're already listening. You've become attuned. At first, though, it doesn't feel like attunement. It feels like abandonment. You miss the comfort of the signs. You miss the thrill of noticing the number on the clock, the feather on the ground, the lyrics at the exact moment you needed them. You miss that sense that something bigger was holding your hand, reminding you that you're not alone. And now, without it, you feel adrift. But here's the truth. You're not lost. You're being asked to trust something deeper. Not a number, not a symbol, but yourself. This stage of the journey is where the real test begins. Can you walk forward without being constantly reassured? Can you trust your inner knowing even when the universe is silent? Because the silence isn't empty. It's sacred. It's space. Space for you to become the source you've been chasing. The voice that once echoed outside of you is now whispering from within. And it doesn't need to scream anymore because you're finally learning to listen differently. This doesn't mean the magic is gone. It means it has changed form. It's no longer outside of you. It's integrated. And because it has become a part of you, it no longer needs to dazzle you. It's just there. In the way you feel calm in chaos. In the way you choose peace without effort. In the way your instincts start to lead instead of lag behind. You've become the channel you used to search for. But this isn't talked about enough because it's not flashy. It doesn't sell well. Silence doesn't trend. Stillness doesn't go viral. But it's where your real power is born. Because you're no longer outsourcing your intuition to the sky. You're no longer checking for signs to feel safe. You just know. And that knowing doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with peace. So, if the universe has gone quiet, it's not because you've lost your way. It's because you've finally found it. And now it's your turn to speak. Not to the world, but to yourself. To anchor into that deep, still voice within you that doesn't need signs to feel certain. It just is. The strange part is, once you stop needing the signs, that's when they often return. But they are no longer there to guide you. They are there to mirror you, to show you that you've become what you used to chase. And that's not disconnection. That's embodiment. That's spiritual maturity. That's freedom. There's a moment after the signs fade, after the people drift away, after the emotional waves settle, where everything starts to feel still. Not the uncomfortable silence of absence, but a kind of deep-rooted quiet that doesn't beg to be filled. And it's in that space that something unexpected begins to unfold. A second awakening. Not the dramatic one, not the tear-filled, cosmos-cracking initiation that ripped you from your old life. This one is quieter, slower, and far more powerful. Because this time, you're not awakening to the truth. You are becoming it. It's hard to describe this shift because it doesn't come with revelations. It comes with clarity. A simple, grounded kind of knowing that doesn't need to be spoken. You stop identifying as someone on a spiritual journey. You don't need the labels anymore. You don't need to explain your evolution to anyone. The performative parts fall away. You're not trying to look enlightened, or sound wise, or impress anyone with your insight. You are just living it softly, silently, steadily. And here's what's strange. You may find that your desire to teach, to guide, to share what you've learned becomes quieter too. Not because you don't care, but because you realize most transformation doesn't happen through words. It happens through energy, through embodiment, through presence. You don't need to convince anyone of anything. You just need to live in alignment, and that alignment becomes its own kind of message. People feel it in your energy, your calm, your groundedness, and they will ask you, without knowing why, what changed. This stage is where the seeker dies. You stop reaching, stop striving, stop constantly checking if you're on the right path. You just are. Not because you found all the answers, but because you made peace with the questions. You're no longer obsessed with finding truth. You're more interested in living it, not in theory, but in action. In how you show up, how you rest, how you speak, how you choose peace when no one is watching. You start making decisions from a place of deep resonance rather than fear or ego. You begin to trust that what is meant for you will not miss you. Not in a passive, wishful thinking way, but in a grounded, unshakable knowing. This doesn't mean life becomes easy or pain-free, but the way you meet life changes. You stop seeing challenges as personal attacks and start seeing them as invitations. Every setback becomes a recalibration. Every closed door, a redirection. Not because someone in the sky is orchestrating your journey, but because you are finally steering it from the inside. And yet, this shift isn't loud. It's not something you'll likely celebrate or announce. It's something you'll carry quietly, like a hidden strength that no longer needs validation. You'll begin to notice how little you need, how little drama you entertain, how much stillness you can hold without feeling anxious. And in that, you realize you've stopped becoming. You've started being. That's the awakening behind the awakening. The one that doesn't look like anything from the outside. The one that doesn't make for an exciting story or a viral video, but it's the one that lasts because it's rooted in something deeper than understanding. It's rooted in embodiment. You're not chasing light anymore. You have become it, and you don't need anyone to notice. After the dust of awakening has settled, and silence becomes your teacher, you'll notice something subtle yet profoundly transformative. Your senses begin to sharpen. Not in a flashy, superhuman way, but more like a gentle, persistent sensitivity that begins to weave itself into every part of your daily experience. You start feeling everything more intensely. People's moods hit you before they speak. A room's energy speaks louder than its decor. Crowds overwhelm you. Noise becomes jarring. Even certain foods or materials feel off. It's as if your inner frequency is now exposed, raw, receptive to everything, and it can be both awe-inspiring and exhausting. This heightened sensitivity isn't a side effect. It's a recalibration. Your nervous system, once numbed by years of emotional suppression and societal programming, is now fully online. You are no longer dulled by distraction. You are awake, not just mentally or spiritually, but energetically. And that means you now pick up on things that most people ignore. The tone beneath the words, the emotion behind the silence, the heaviness in a space that everyone else walks through without noticing. At first, it can feel like a curse, as if you've lost the filter that once helped you survive the noise. But in truth, you've just dropped the armor. This kind of awareness requires a new level of responsibility. You can't go to the same places, eat the same things, surround yourself with the same energy, and expect to feel okay, because you have changed. Your tolerance for anything misaligned has dropped. What used to be tolerable now feels unbearable. This can lead to burnout if you're not careful. You might find yourself exhausted after small interactions, needing more solitude than ever, or having to cancel plans without always knowing why. Your old self would have pushed through, performed, endured. But that version of you is gone, and now you're being asked to honor your system above your social obligations. What's often misunderstood is that this sensitivity isn't weakness, it's refinement. Your system is refining what it allows in. You are becoming more discerning, more tuned in, more selective, not from judgment, but from energetic clarity. You're not too sensitive. You're tuned to a new bandwidth, and most of the world is still operating on static. So yes, it can feel lonely. Yes, you'll need more space. But with that space, you begin to understand your sensitivity as your compass. It tells you where to go, whom to trust, what to avoid, and when to rest. It's your guidance system, not your flaw. But learning to live with it takes time. You'll have to develop new boundaries. Not just the ones you communicate, but the invisible ones. The energetic filters that let you walk through the world without absorbing it. You'll learn the difference between what's yours and what's being projected onto you. You'll sense when someone's words are polished, but their energy is off. You'll walk into a space and feel your body give you the answer before your mind can catch up. And slowly, this sensitivity becomes strength. The key is not to harden yourself again. Don't try to numb it or tune it out. Learn to move with it. Build practices that support it. Protect your energy without isolating yourself. Speak less when you feel overloaded. Spend time in nature. Surround yourself with people whose energy feels like rest, not work. Honor your need to retreat, not as avoidance, but as maintenance. You are not here to carry the weight of everyone else's unprocessed emotions. You are here to embody your own truth, and that requires clarity, boundaries, and care. This new level of awareness is one of the most powerful outcomes of life after awakening because it allows you to navigate life from a place of deep intuition and self-respect. You don't have to explain it to anyone. Just live it, trust it, and let the world recalibrate around the version of you that no longer dims to fit in. After the chaos, the revelations, the letting go, the solitude, the silence, there comes a moment when life starts to look normal again. You wake up, you eat, you work. You clean, you talk to people, you laugh at a show, you go to bed. Nothing explodes, nothing cracks open. There are no thunderous downloads shaking you from your sleep. No cosmic signs hitting you in the face at every turn. Just life, plain, ordinary, rhythmic life. And that's when the doubt creeps in. You wonder, did I lose it? Did the magic end? Did I slip back into my old life? But what's really happening is something most people never explain. You're not going backward. You're landing. You're grounding. And what once felt like mundane repetition is now the very proof that your awakening has become embodied. It's no longer something you experience. It's something you are. You're not chasing the divine anymore because you finally understand it was never separate from you in the first place. This return to normal doesn't mean going back to who you were. It means integrating who you've become into a life that can actually hold it. And that's the hardest part because it feels almost anticlimactic. We are conditioned to expect awakening to mean constant awe, eternal bliss, spiritual highs that never fade. But the truth is, your nervous system isn't designed to stay in those highs forever. Real awakening isn't about how high you can soar. It's about how deeply you can root, how well you can walk through the ordinary without losing the sacred inside you. You'll notice the difference not in fireworks, but in subtle power. When things go wrong, you respond instead of reacting. When others panic, you stay grounded. When old triggers resurface, they bounce off a version of you that no longer clings to them. You laugh more. You cry more cleanly. You find meaning in the smallest things, a tree, a sound, a breath. And in that, You realize nothing on the outside changed, but everything inside you changed. This grounded neutrality can confuse people. They'll expect you to be the spiritual one, with big declarations, constant rituals, and performative enlightenment. But you're not interested in that anymore. You don't need incense to feel peace. You don't need tarot cards to trust your intuition. You don't need to post your journey online to validate its truth. You're not hiding. You're just no longer performing. And that stillness, that refusal to participate in the spectacle, is radical in itself. It's also liberating. You're no longer addicted to the signs, the chase, the next breakthrough. You've made peace with the present. You no longer measure your spiritual progress by how high you feel, but by how authentic you are in the quiet moments, the moments no one sees. The moments where your true self speaks, not in metaphors or mantras, but in presence. And this is where the real power begins. Because now you're living it, not talking about awakening, not documenting it, not clinging to the memory of it. You are simply awake. Awake in a world that's still asleep. Awake in a world that still wants spectacle over substance. But that no longer bothers you. You're not here to impress. You're here to embody. And in that embodiment, you become a lighthouse. Silent, steady, unshakable. But don't confuse this calm with complacency. You're not numb. You're not checked out. You're just clear. Clear about what matters, what drains you, what fills you, and what's worth your time. You're not racing anymore. You're moving with intention. You're not seeking freedom. You are freedom. And that's the strange thing about life after awakening. It doesn't look extraordinary to others, but to you, even the most ordinary day carries a sacred weight. And if you've made it this far on the journey, this is your reminder. You haven't lost the magic. You are the magic. And when you live from that place, you don't need life to dazzle you anymore. You're finally free to just live. And that's the most spiritual thing of all. So here you are. The signs have faded. The storms have passed. The highs are no longer needed. And the noise that once stirred your soul into awakening has quieted to a calm hum in the background of your life. It's strange, isn't it? To reach the point where everything inside you has changed, yet nothing outside you looks different. And that's the paradox. What you once called awakening was never the goal. It was just the doorway. And now you've stepped through. The question is, how will you live on the other side? Because now it's no longer about chasing answers. It's about embodying the truth you've already found. The real work isn't in trying to stay spiritual. It's in showing up with presence, compassion, and authenticity when no one is watching. It's in remembering who you are, not through cosmic downloads or divine interventions, but through the way you hold space in everyday moments, the way you breathe through tension, the way you speak when it's easier to stay silent, the way you choose integrity over convenience. This is the part of the path where things slow down, not because nothing is happening, but because everything finally starts to align. And as your inner world finds harmony, your outer world starts to shift. Not through force, but through resonance. You attract less noise, more clarity, fewer crowds, deeper connection. You stop playing roles. You stop chasing purpose. You simply live it quietly, powerfully, without apology. And yet, there's still one final illusion to dismantle. The belief that this journey is only about you. Awakening begins as a personal revolution, yes. But if it ends there, it misses its purpose. Because your freedom is not meant to be hoarded, it's meant to ripple. And now more than ever, the world needs people who are not just awake, but anchored, not just informed, but embodied. The kind of people who walk into a room and change its energy without saying a word. The kind of people who hold space for others to unravel and remember themselves without judgment or ego. But you can't do that if you're still hooked on performance. You can't lead from a place of insecurity. And you can't guide others if you're still searching for validation. This next phase of the journey demands something deeper. Presence without pretense. Strength without noise. Wisdom without attachment. You don't need to be a guru. You just need to be real. That's the most powerful thing you can offer in a world still clinging to illusion. And now that you've stepped beyond the awakening, you understand what most people never will. It's not about being above the world, but fully within it. Awake, engaged, but not entangled. You're not here to escape reality. You're here to transform it by being the clearest version of yourself within it. And that transformation doesn't begin with a movement or a message. It begins with a choice. A daily, quiet, radical choice to live aligned, to live honestly, to live free. And this is where we leave you. Not at the end, but at the beginning. The beginning of a life where you are no longer the seeker. You are the source. You are no longer the student of signs. You are the sign, the embodiment, the message, the calm after the storm. So, if you've been waiting for something more, something louder, something clearer, stop. This is it. This stillness, this quiet certainty, this grounded presence that's the final form of awakening. And it's not meant to thrill you. It's meant to hold you.